Today on Cryptic Mass Guitar, we do a high gain off between the Gibson Les Paul Standard 50s, this is a limited edition AAA flame maple top, and the Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. So I'll start things off by saying YouTube videos are fantastic. It's a great way of seeing and hearing a guitar, or maybe in this case two, that you're interested in purchasing. Albeit it's in someone else's hands, someone else's amp choices, setting choices, and their choice of what to play. And in the world of guitars, it's actually 10% sound, 90% feel. So please don't use these videos here or any video on YouTube as the reason why you're buying a guitar. Make sure you go into the store and play them for yourself. And while you're at it, play a whole bunch of other guitars. You never know which one's going to speak to you. So I'll give you the rundown here quickly. I have this divided into 4 different sections. Section number 1 is 2 sound samples with leads. Section number 2 is both guitars played, one left, one right. And then we have 4 quick sound samples, like minute-long sound sample comparisons, obviously, with 4 different amps and 4 different tunings. And then finally, number 4, if you're looking to, maybe if you own this one and you want to buy this one because you want to change up your sound, I'm going to give you a different option, or 8 different options, on how you might be able to change your sound a little more drastically rather than buying a new guitar. So let's start out with section 1, 2 sound samples with leads. So the first one is in DADGAD in C with a lead, and the second one is in E standard with harmony section and a lead. On to section 2, where we play both of these guitars at the same time, one left, one right. This is to help you, distinguish if maybe your guitar player already has this one and you're the second guitar player, or the first, and this is the guitar that you might be looking at to see if they blend well. On to section 3 here. I want to give you a little bit of coverage here. Generally when, people come to the channel and they look at my videos, if they know I have a whole bunch of amps, they usually go, hey, I wish you would have played this, or what does it sound like when you play it through this amp? And I came here hoping you'd play this amp, you never played it. So I'm going to try and give you a little bit of coverage here. So we'll play 4 different amps, 4 different riffs, and 4 different tunings. And on to section 4, like I said earlier, there might be a different option other than buying another guitar, or, you know, maybe do it while you buy another guitar, because I'm addicted to guitars and I can completely respect you if you just want another guitar. But when it comes to trying to change your sound, a lot of people just go right to guitars rather than either an amp change or what this is, cabinet change or speaker change. So I'm gonna play one riff with both guitars with 8 different cabinets. And the whole idea there is you can hear the difference on each cabinet between both of the guitars. And then when I switch speaker types, you're just gonna be able to hear that there's more difference in the speaker types than there is in the 2 guitars together. Alright, so that's it for all of the different sound samples in this high gain off comparison between both of these guitars. Now, usually I like to do like, oh, you know, I'm going to get 3 questions on each. But what I want to do, I want to give a little bit of a rundown in the differences here between both the guitars, because there's not much. There's enough to distinguish the two of them and to make certain people want to buy this or certain people want to buy that. But it's not like this huge drastic difference between the two. So as far as differences, we're looking at pickups here. The standard 50s has the Burstbucker 2 in the bridge and the Burstbucker 1 in the neck. They're a little bit more dialed back, so they're not hot pickups. They're a little more flatter response, not totally flat. The standard 60s here has the 61R and 61T, which are now called the 60s Burstbuckers. They're a little bit hotter with a little more emphasis on the low end and the high end. They're not scooped whatsoever, but that's just something that they have. There's a little more emphasis on the low end and the high end, and they're a little hotter. As far as the necks, the standard 50s has the 50s vintage neck carve, so it's thicker. It's more of a rounded profile, a little thicker than the rounded profile, not as fat as like a 56 baseball bat. The standard 60s here has the 60s slim taper. So this is definitely a slimmer neck than this one here, and it's also just like millimeters thicker than a SG slim taper. So in a nutshell, if you like thick necks, 50s. If you like thinner necks, 60s. Now as far as tuners, we have the somewhat period correct Gibson vintage deluxe tuners in the standard 50s, whereas the 60s is treated like a hot rodded or a modded late 59 or early 60s Les Paul, so it has a typical upgrade of Grover Rotomatic tuners. They're not locking tuners, but you can just swap them right out for Grover roto grips without, you know, drilling any other pilot holes. Whereas the 50s, you're going to have to drill holes in the back of the neck in order to, you know, facilitate any other type of locking tuner other than Spurzl Easy Grip or something like that, where they don't screw into the back of the headstock. So those are the main differences other than the knobs and the strap buttons between both of these guitars. They're both non-weight relief guitars. Both of these actually weigh in at 9.9 pounds. So yeah, that's really the difference here. Both of these, as far as tuning stability, are great. The added weight on the headstock from the Grover tuners in comparison to the just a little bit lighter vintage deluxe tuners, it can be a little noticeable, but at the same time, it sort of offsets things because this is a thicker neck and this is a thinner neck, so there's bound to be a little bit of weight balancing going on there. But it is something that when you're playing both of them, you know, side by side after a little while, you do notice. And as long as you're tuning up to pitch and not tuning down to pitch, and then tugging on your strings so you know, get slack out of the post, if I can even get it to, you can't do that, and taking any type of binding that might be in the nut out, then you should be fine. It's the G-string issue is way worse on a Stratocaster, and as long as you're tuning up to pitch and tugging on your strings, I do that like 3 different times just so I can get any of the slack or binding out, and I generally don't have to tune for like a couple of hours. Thanks for watching.